you. I want to welcome you all here. And we are a nonprofit organization. Been here, I've been here since 1982, but the nonprofit started in 2019. And so we need your support, and we need you to participate, come here and donate and keep this place vibrant. So tonight we also have a show, and Rob and Alan will be, well, they're here now as for open mic, but they will be the feature poets tonight. So you guys have to come back for that. So before we start, I'd like to read a poem. This one I kind of look into my file and I found it, and I'm not totally sure when I wrote it, but I think I wrote it because there was a war somewhere in the world, and I wrote it and I thought it's appropriate today to read it. It's titled Long. The tendrils of longing ladenly tread past crow's feet, laughing lines, blind to the nest of mottled eggs beneath the mighty wings. They heave a heavy burden of crushed hearts, wounded souls, and the scent of loss permeates, staining the tea of tears. Memories are dandelions now, when walls of homes no longer stand, when mothers stop singing lullabies, when babies' eyes turn cold. And love, it is a pellet thought, receding faster than the tides, leaving shadows long and sinister, dancing in eerie delight. Pity the child who has never touched a leaf, a flower, a bird, but dwells in the heat of scorn and hate. His prayer is that of death. Lay down your arms, O mighty wings, down for the children's sake. Their hearts are hardening, for you have taught them love and destruction are one. The tendrils of longing ladenly tread past crow's feet, laughing lines, drag across the sweat of nightmare for the first sign of dew. Thank you. I'd like to make a toast to poetry in Chinatown and poets. So, cheers. I think I just spilled. So we're going to mop it up because it's sticky.
Yeah,
I got you.
that's for the year.
Not too excited. No, I think he likes wine, but I do wishes. That's spread enough with
He's
my
underage.
water.
Don't give him any wine.
We don't want,
This isn't Europe.
we don't want drunken dogs.
Yeah, you don't want to see
Anyway.
him drunk.
Great pot, everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the April 2026 edition of Third Saturday Poetry in Chinatown. We have two wonderful features this afternoon. We have Alison Hart and we have David Booth. And we have some wonderful open mic participants, so that's always great. We'll pretty much start with about 4 minutes or so with the open mic. We may do another round if other people don't show up, but very often we start off small and then people start pouring in after a while, or stalling maybe. But anyway, Couple things. Your phones, you might want to put them on mute or vibrate or silence or whatever, so it doesn't go off the middle. And also, after you read a poem, you are welcome to take one of these complimentary colored pens, or gel pens, or metallic, or some might have might be scented, some might fly. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, please, if you would like to read, please sign up. There's a sign-up sheet there. Don't be shy. It can be your work or someone else's work, or you can even just make an announcement if you'd like. But in any event, we're going to start off with a few open mics, and then we're going to get our first feature, a few more open mics. So our first feature of the, first reader of the afternoon is E.K. Keith, followed by Alan Davenport and Yolanda.
Gonna use the furniture in a slightly different way today. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm E.K. Keith. I'm happy to be here. Happy Poetry Month. I'm gonna give you an invitation and a poem. So I'm the organizer and host of the 21st annual Poems Under the Dome. It's coming up in Friday, April 24th. Like, it's coming up this coming Friday. It's a free, all ages, open mic celebration of poetry inside San Francisco City Hall. It is, last year, the San Francisco Public Library adopted our event. So you can find it on the SFPL events calendar, and also Instagram and Facebook. You know how that stuff goes. It's free, it's all ages. I invite you to participate. Please come prepared to bring one poem that you can read in 3 minutes or less. You'll put your name in the green velvet top hat, and after our poet laureate Jenny Lim reads the first poem, we have a small youth feature, and then we start drawing names out of the hat, and we go till 8 p.m., and then it's see you next year. So please come on out. It's coming up this coming Friday, April 24th, 5:30 to 8 p.m. inside San Francisco City Hall. That's the thing with the dome. It's very glittery. It's a great place for poetry. So given current circumstances, I've only been writing love poems for my 30 poems in 30 days, and I don't have any of those memorized. So this is something that it's a love poem, and
Let's read it.
true love. Do you have a tattoo? Who here has pierced ears? What have you done for love and lost? Once, there was a little known goddess of war. No one remembers her name because she was in love with the king of the gods, and he loved her, but she didn't know he was the secret love of the goddess of love. So she asks a jealous friend for advice. The love goddess snorts and says, "To prove your love, cut off your ear and give it to him." So she mutilates her body to make herself more attractive to her lover. And he's so horrified, so disgusted, he turns his face from her kiss. And the truth is, scars are beautiful. Secretly, we all know it's our imperfections that attract us to each other. There's nothing more interesting than a crooked nose, tooth, finger, or toe. And like a little known goddess of war, we wonder who it will be to look at our scars and love us. Thank you. See all this to be taught. I also have souvenir bookmarks with information in the right one.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Claire Sue. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Let's see.
Oh, look, that's what
Ooh, hot pink. I like it.
All right. Great. Up next is Helen.
Oh,
Helen is up next.
thank you. I spilled tea on myself. I didn't come here like that. So I'll take that as good luck. Can you see me about this? The heart has its way. Fog, rainbows, lightning, the heart has its way. It yearns without logic. Wet snow that meets as it touches the pavement, fireflies, and the smell of a hot summer night. Without a plan. The remembered long ago wailed comment sound of the elevated subway, wind in the trees. Without practicability, the heart has its way. Without a guarantee of gain, like the longing for a wished return of love, like the Sunday night lonelies, like drops of rain sliding down a window pane, meeting up with other drops. The heart has its own sustenance, separate of the day-to-day reasoning, the necessity of a focused wanting. The heart has its way. It yearns without logic, without a plan, without practicability, without a guarantee of gain, like the longing for a wished return of love. The heart has its way. This next one is called The Bridge. Is the bridge now between the bulk of my life and what is now? This time now, my old age into the time of me leaving this earth. I am looking back, remembering. A bridge is an apt visual to look to where it connects to the younger me. My memory is not serving me well now. The names of people I want to remember have become hazy. Places and events appear much less sharp. But I am there to no consequence. I am part of the earth. No more or less important is my place in the cycle of life. Actual physical bridges. Did I ever walk across the Brooklyn Bridge? It was just there, as was I. I walked across the Golden Gate because I was new, a reluctant transplant here. Does New York remember me? Do my usual subway stops say, "Where is Helen? We haven't seen her in years." You know what I heard? She's become very claustrophobic. Can't ride the subway at all. Now we'll never see her. The Manhattan stops say, "I don't believe she left Manhattan. She loved us. Was so glad to be here from Brooklyn." Helen and Joy Vahalva both come from Brooklyn. It must be a good place. Go toward the bridge, then from and the to. Absorb it all. At the end, absorb it all.
This is fun from Brooklyn too. Hey!
Yeah, New York.
Hey! All right, up next is Yolanda.
I'm part of the Google project, the harm reduction program of the Church St. John Episcopalian St. John the Evangelist Church. And every Wednesday we have writing workshops. I wrote this about a month or 2 months ago.
Can you say into the
Yes,
into the
yeah.
microphone?
I wrote about a month or 2 months ago the harm reduction Google project with the Church St. John the Episcopalian Evangelist Church. The assignment was write something about the jungle, could be any kind of jungle. Asphalt jungle, wilderness of the mind, houses with plants, shrubs, trees growing inside dwelling, outside walls of abandoned houses. Due to the death of automobile industry in Detroit, Michigan, workers laid out labyrinths of freeways, highways, unemployed, maneuvering, steering wheels, wondering, which way will I go? I don't mean Route 66, I mean stay and organize, yes. Question comes to mind, how will I pay the rent? What will the dough needed to precious labor? From foreign-made parts come from with no more cars to build. Mortgage payment delays piling up. Baby crying in automobile, barely able to make payments forward. Labyrinth of the mind, spirit, soul as welcoming as musical band. The Temptations from Detroit, Michigan. The soul of a city is working manpower who produce the profits because the labor is not paid. Because surplus value, the money workers produce an assembly line, which enhance the owner of the factories, keeps and turns into profits instead of wages. Traveling on Route 66, going who knows where. The itinerary is the way of the mind, the will, necessity. Necessity says you have to stop somewhere to rest. Nighttime takes over, you wish there were still plans. The question arises, which way now? Feed the babe, fill the car with gas, remember to love, to laugh, find a parking place, beg for enough dough to buy baby formula to lend a hand. Look at the stars, remember there are others like you. Bond organized for a wilderness where nature reigns, has no boundaries. Can't knock on doors because you might get shot, so extend a hand. There is another power which will not abandon you. It is the God, it's the Jesus, it's the disciples. It's faith that God has not abandoned you. He wants us to work together, to believe that the road to the future is possible if we stick together.
It's time to present the first of our two features of the afternoon. David Booth is a poet and teacher whose work has appeared in the Missouri Review, Chicago Quarterly Review, Washington Square, 14 Hills, and Farallon Review, among other journals. He's the author of two poetry collections, Tell Me Please, What's the Matter, which was published through Cedar Press in 2025, and Too Bright to See, published by Simi Press in 2021. In 2026, he is writing a series of 4 essays on poetics for the quarterly online zine Prairie Review, the first of which concerns poets' notebooks. He lives in San Francisco with his wife Ingrid Hawkinson please welcome to the stage David Booth.
So can everyone hear me? Yeah. So I just feel really good here. This is a very sweet space, sweet place. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So as Greg said, I'm kind of celebrating. This book came out almost a year ago. It's called Tell Me Please What's the Matter, and if you like what you hear, I have some for sale. And I'll start with something from it. This is called Blaming Nancy. I'm not blaming Nancy. It's tempting, but I won't do it. To blame her would be to poison the air between us and potentially to blow my cover. May no one's cover be blown tonight. May the air we breathe remain fresh and ample. I'm not going to dance with Nancy. It's tempting, if for no other reason than to mirror someone comfortable letting go. I'm learning to let go. But to mirror Nancy dancing would lead someone to think I was mocking her. This is not the night to imitate a wild nature. I will never mock Nancy for her wildness. One may or may not fall in love with Nancy, but no one must ever make fun of her when she puts forth one of her purest selves. I will not play the blame game with Nancy, but I will dance near her as her brother has instructed. Incorporating spin moves into my otherwise straightforward maneuvers allows my gaze to sweep the dance floor like a searchlight with no inclination to shine a light on any one dancer. Is this not nonchalance deconstructed? Does not everyone dance near everyone in intimate club settings? This club falls somewhere between intimate and overly spacious because it is less like a club in its architecture and more like a repurposed gymnasium. I will not rest with Nancy after hours of vigorous dancing, but I will rest nearby and close my eyes in gratitude for my own able-bodiedness. I will not in the time span of a breath reach the conclusion that a guy's sister is bent on self-destruction, but I will look at her, take the mental snapshot I've promised, an image realistic and unromantic enough that she might not mind my having it, and walk out into the night. On my way home, I will resist contemplating Nancy in any other way than one contemplates the unknowable life of a person just being. I will inform her brother that Sis is all right. I saw her with my own eyes, I will tell him, and she could hardly be in a safer environment. This is called Forensic Gesture. And I think I don't watch much TV, but I still like murder mysteries, and so there's some forensics in this. So, here we go. It's in 4 parts, and they're rather short each part. So, forensic gesture. A man tells everyone he knows that the woman he's with is a lousy lover. For what? A woman tells anyone who listens that the man she's with is a lousy lover. Tell me, for what? A woman tells some woman she should have known better, but the woman she's with is a lousy lover for reasons who can remember. A man steps up to tell men and women alike that the man he's with has been lousy at love since the start. 2. Will you come back soon? Will I be the first to see you coming? Says a man of a woman who was once the weather of conscience. Will you come back soon? Will I recognize your form breaching the horizon? Says a woman of the man marking past, present, and future. Let me be the first to welcome you back to a familiar country, says a woman, surprised by the sound of her own voice, of a woman whose voice always echoes. If you come back soon, says a man of a man when no one's listening, I will be myself with you, no acting. 3. A man says of a woman accustomed to the two of them lost in a universal scheme of coexistence, has it really been so long since I saw you? A woman whose brother once took a man rowing one foggy morning says of that man, how long has it been since we had a conversation? A woman says to the woman she once knew like the flesh of her palm, it's been too long. A man says to a man with whom he used to shower, "You look older," in the final form. A man implied by dialogue, a cherry grower in the San Joaquin Valley, does not bear a grudge against a lover, now that he has Cheryl, but against the linnet, who some men implied by dialogue and some implied women call redhead, others call housefinch, and the one worldly child and one fey, inseparable, call little sparrow. Sensitive to a child's perspective, the grower sends birds' stomachs to biological survey to confirm the suspicion that linnets are the devourers of his cherries, but gets back no fruit from the laboratory, only woolly plant lice, weed seed, and some gravel in a rolling back up gamut all of mystery. So as Greg mentioned, I've been actually a teacher of one kind or another for a very long time, like 29 years or something like that. And in high school teaching, which I'm not doing much of anymore, just not more than a few years ago, certainly before the pandemic, there was this big kind of craziness about what we were going to do about all the cell phones in classrooms. And it's less so now. I mean, we've got that. I mean, not only are they put them away now, but all the devices do have all the same power, so it's almost unwinnable. But during those days, maybe a decade ago, I always wanted to write a poem about cell phones and teens and could never figure out how, and I still haven't. But when I started writing this book, I realized that my cell phone poem was happening. This is called Ringtones, and it's 10 meditations on ringtones. Let me share this with you. Okay, here we go. Ringtones. 1. Welcome. Ringtones. 1. The birds we mistook for a ringtone, the larks and the birch beyond our window glass. Ringtones made the sounds of rain and the swish of the sleeves of strangers brushing. Water falls through the head of a tree, hard, deciduous. Tomorrow's forecast calls for ringtones rioting like spring flowers while we wait out the rain. 2. These boys like to hang out and talk to each other all day long, but it's never the two of them alone, as their phones are always abuzz and ringing. The one on the right, who uncharacteristically wishes to remain anonymous, texts God knows who after beating the one on the left, Brainiac Trey, in a game of chess one Sunday afternoon. If there weren't something unknowable going on with him, he would gloat to Trey's face, and Trey would ruminate on it behind forced smiles. What a novel ringtone this would make, the sound of a child gloating mixed with the softer sound of his friend, half shy, gloating, counteracted. 3. What I thought was a ringtone was the sound of my stepping whole soul on the whole of my eyeglasses. If you haven't heard by now, it doesn't matter about the awful past. What we mistook for a ringtone, the soft scraping sounds of those brushing out their hair with plastic brushes. Rubbing scalps of enigma, what we thought was a ringtone was a source of causeless laughter. This is neither here nor there, but my niece's ringtone sounds like a flipbook, animated snowdrift across the forest floor up to the earliest branches. 5. All day long, travelers arrive from the front to be halted by an impassable river. So stand they on a muddy bank like figures out of a mythical literature. Frozen, drenched, far removed from cell reception, they watch the ferry and the ferryman going back and forth. They yell in vain their long-drawn summonses. One begs not the question, what is the song of Deborah? But what is its melody, scoreless in judges? The spiel I was going to give, I believe I've forgotten. There's a forgetfulness in. I forget where this comes from, but I've heard it said that a nuclear winter begins with a regional war fought with conventional weapons. I think this is 6. I know I've lost count. I read lips, I'm reading yours right now while you explained a little what Arnold, the equations he must work out on the dry erase boards around him. Up the hill from where I stand, a cordoned-off area, ragged hill pine, falls into the ocean. The tearing sounds of collapse are not phones ringing. They say to the boy, "Show your work, why don't you?" His reply, "I've done it in my head since the beginning." The next one. The Bodhisattva, Gayen, is the one who hears the cries of the world. She listens deeply without judging or reacting, while he, who is he, talks prettily about shrubs. All the pretty talk in the world can't do justice to the long-necked birds and the boats bobbing between kelp beds. Ringtones ring out across this setting. What we thought were ringtones were kids these days, using the phrase "just saying" in their enjoyment of each other. Next. After 2 stressful weeks for both of us, we ran away for 2 days and a night to a yurt in the Salinas Valley. We forgot our phones. The springs of box springs called out coupling rhythms. Troubles seemed not to exist or not to have followed us, like in these antique sentences from Steinbeck's The Pastures of Heaven. Quote, "The farmers at last lived prosperously and at peace. Their land was rich and easy to work. The fruits of their gardens were the finest produced in Central California." Next. What we thought was a ringtone was a wildfire. That the population of the world grew exponentially was one cause of such fires. What we thought were ringtones were human herds thinning. 2 more. He remembered he had a little pot on him, but it hardly seemed worth it. Every part of the landscape and sky, especially at night, the stars multiplying and whining coyotes trotting somewhere in the distance, was like an outward expression of inner life. And finally, it would happen several times that evening before he realized that the mysterious sound nudging him awake was the ice in the glass on his nightstand shifting as it melted. In the meantime, in the moonlight, with the water slowly collecting, he closed his eyes and, getting this beautiful kind of curve, took up inventing again. I don't know how I'm doing myself. Let's get a take a look at that. Okay, cool. All right, I want to share with you. Here's one that it's a bit similar to the first one I read. The Spirit, I think. This is a poem. There's something kind of literary I want to show you about this. It's kind of interesting. I have a footnote for it, actually. The poem itself is called "At the Height of the Pandemic," and then in parentheses, "Days of 2020." This is an old move by a very famous poet from 150 years ago or something named C.P. Cavafy, a modern Greek poet. And let me read this footnote to you, then I'll just jump into the poem. So Ray Dalton, 1904 to 1992, a writer who grew up in the U.S., is famous for her translations of the poetry of Greek poet C.P. Cavafy. I read him when I was 21. I'm 57 right now, so it was a long time ago. Many of Cavafy's poems have titles that begin with "Days of," as in his poem "Days of 1896," about the prudery of Alexandrian society wanting to quash his sex adventures. This strategy for titles, "Days of" whatever the year is, a rhetorical move, adds to a poem's timelessness, if only because a clear time marker interrupts any feeling of a poem being anachronistic. People were writing pandemic poems, and I wanted to I had this fantasy that I could use this to give it a little bit more life, a little bit more longevity. So this is called "At the Height of the Pandemic, Days of 2020. A man called my wife a cunt today. She was jogging in the park when she pulled down her mask to take a breather. She wasn't the only one pulling down her mask, but she guesses she was oldest. Her hair gray, she guesses, made her an easy target. I said, quote, "He fears the asymptomatic carrier." She said, "He can't bear the thought of a woman rule breaker." I said, "If I could, I would have a word with him." She said, "Why can't you listen to what happened without wanting to punch someone?" "I'm not punching anyone," I said. This was at the heart of the pandemic. The Buddha sent his disciples into the forest to meditate for a lengthy period, months maybe, when complaining tree spirits set out to unnerve each neophyte. Why must invisible forces behave poorly? Buddha's response, the design of the ritual metta to spread loving kindness. You sit in silence as if for meditation, but instead of focusing on your breath or envisioning a tree, instead forest or a moon hanging in its branches, you speak within yourself, audibly to yourself, wishing for yourself good health and prosperity and safe passage through life. Say the same for your spouse and for those closest to you, mother, father, brother, sister. Say it next to your friend, for your friend's sake, and next to those you don't know as well, but for whom you have an affinity. Spread it to people less familiar and those less familiar still, and on like this, that you may reach even the strangers of far distant rings, those most odious to you, and even abstractions like Mussolini, who remain indifferent to the well-being of not only those close to you, but also of the masses. As I write this, I am reminded of Father Finley. He speaks of grace as openness to the possibility that you could suddenly fall in love with everyone in the world. I used to think about this on crowded buses. I think about it now, in our time of pandemic, as empty buses passing. Two more to be time for that work and this will thank you. This first one I just wrote the other day, and it belongs to something bigger. I'm not sure what that bigger is, but it's about poetry really. But it's kind of I've been trying to write more about the senses. So I was thinking a lot about the quality of sound in our writing and what we read. This is Querencia, and it goes like this. I must pack my lunch for Petaluma with sounds. If I take a cleaver and swing it on hard on an apple on an oak cutting board, let me start this again, pardon me. I must pack my lunch for Petaluma with sounds. If I take a cleaver and swing it on hard on an apple on the oak cutting board my neighbor Kenny made in a wood shop, I hear the slice of halves and the blade sunk into wood as halves fall away and wobble in a spray of fruit. The loudest sound I ever heard came from the volcanic eruption of Krakatoa before I was born. The softest, eyes blinking moments before another sudden explosion, and the demolition of Hudson's department store on Woodward Avenue in Detroit a century later. Hear your eyes like a premonition, 1,000, 2,000, boom. While walking with your grandmother, herself as quiet as the hue, yet agitated by the darkening sky and her memory of the partisan she was at 20, moving out of her dormitory, vernacular architecture spoken mostly in the Midwest, into old and new forms of communal living. Go down on your hands and knees and chop the earth with a trowel. I must bring a mason jar of dirt on retreat as antithesis of noisemaker. Our stay in Sonoma County is one long scene containing a countless number of scenes inside the one big one containing the soils of Petaluma, sandy loam, volcanic ash, rock. I'll close with this. And this is actually, I think this, I'm happy to close with this because one of the things I'm doing, when I read about ringtones, I was talking a bit about, these meditations. What I'm really doing in the text here is I'm really just making big leaps as a kind of experimental move within fairly conventional ideas. And this will give you an example of some of those leaps here. I hope that makes sense. But here we go. This is the last one. And I wrote this actually for my wife because she can't be here today. This is called Mood for a Day. Looking down from the balcony onto a blazing bright spectacle of some kind, she wears a sequin dress backless, while he looks past her from the side of the condominium, not to what he can't see her looking down upon, but what must be a smoldering planet. God, how he hates a smoldering planet. Hating with every fiber of his being, he soothes himself, recalling Madonna, who was Mater, and Mater, who is mother of the lilies, and the lilies who go with the lily of the heart, to whom he says, I commit myself to you. It is the year of the woman, and scientists have discovered 7 Earth-like planets orbiting a star some 39,000 years distant. My 81-year-old mother asks, will humans bring sexism to a new planet, or can we start without it? She holds in her hands a drop spindle to make fine linen, an abridged version of an endless book called Mind, an Essay on Human Feeling, sits beside her on the basket with its knees up and chin propped on loose fists of inquiry. She stopped reading at the sentence, quote, it is natural for a person reared in the atmosphere of European common sense to assume that the use of ritual in connection with the ordinary daily chores, gardening, hunting, fishing, handiwork, must have a practical aim, and to ask a native of the forest or veld how his work would be affected if the sacred forms were omitted. 100 pages from the end, she won't pick up again. Refusing any and all companion tasks, she works out her inferiorities on her own in anticipation of the busy day ahead. From a fiber mass, does life, after all, continue? Recession can be a father of conscience. How should we work now that we're failing? Like our own mother making it work? By some kind of rotation to amass, adapt, to make an intervention, portfolio sharing? In saying, quote, labor is a way of knowing, the artist Anne Hamilton, born 1956, asks what it means to live and work intergenerationally. What do you like about it? What's not to like unless you carry wounds from childhood, and in your case, such carrying is involuntary and unseemly. The star at the center of the solar system is called Trappist 1. True Trappists devote themselves to silence in the face of insatiable wonderment in the near and far of their wondrous objects. Its leash taught, a puppy called Prince Mutt gasps for joy and breath under the press of the collar against its throat as it strains to smell on others' feces. Final paragraph here. On a personal note, Ingrid, who's not here, on a personal note, I'm happy to be going through life with you. It's a relief to sit beside you in a metaphorical cart that we may call carrying cart drawn by mammals, in our occasional practice of tending upon a road grown less bumpy near the horizon. But what is an actual cart ride? To my mind, it is more practical and ornate when pulled by horses with minds of their own who treat us kindly while biding their time in their current occupations. In any event, let us sit for a few minutes after throats stop clearing. The more palpable silence grows, the less cliche an ambiance for self-reflection. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Denise. This is essentially a song I wrote for my husband Rick. We moved here in LA back in 2004. This is for you, Rick. I love what you do for me in the early moon. I love what you do for me in the early moon. Sha-ba-ba-ba-ba, sha-ba-ba-ba-ba, sha-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba, sha-ba-ba-ba-ba, sha-ba-ba-ba-ba, sha-ba-ba-ba. precious berries in the early morn. Sha-ba-ba-ba-ba, 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 sha-ba-ba-ba-ba. You see, Rick, love you.
From dust we came, and to dust we shall return, which is why I never dust. I don't want to interfere with the comings and goings of dust, and my own inevitable return trip to dust, which will be, I don't know when, at 80 or 90 or 100 or 150 or 200 or 500 or 1,000 or 5,000. Do I hear 10,000? I have 10,000. Do I hear 10,500? I have 10,500. Do I hear 11,000? I have 10,500. Do I hear 11,000? 10,500 going once, 10,500 going twice. So, at 10,500, I am going to live to be 10,500 years old. And that is a lot of dust. A veritable history of the world played out as a titanic accumulation of dead skin cells and dust mites and fabric and carpet fibers and pet dander and outdoor soil and pollen and mold spores and microscopic food particles and cosmic dust direct from outer space, resulting in dust bunnies 50 feet high. The attack of the 50-foot dust bunnies from American International Pictures, starring Richard Denning and Susan Cabot, directed by Roger Corman, produced by James H. Nicholson and Samuel Z. Arkoff. A B-movie whose premise turns dust into a monster that reflects the fear we all have that we are all just big clumps of dust which for a short time coagulate into a more solid form that allows us to wear clothes and drive cars and have sex and start wars and drink until we puke and to post songs like Dust in the Wind before being thrown back onto the cosmic heap of the divine in order to decompose and return to our original form, which is dust. Because from dust we came, and to dust we shall return, which is why you should never dust.
And Rob is up next.
Thank you, Greg. As Greg mentioned, or I can't remember, Clara, somebody mentioned, there is a show tonight at 7 p.m.?
Yes.
7 p.m. Funky Fools, the first ever iteration of Funky Fools, a spoken word / music extravaganza with the showcase talents of Shantiana Thomas of Who Them Kids Be, playing R&B and indie pop, Alan Harris, whom you just heard, Prairie, who is going to just do some wonderful spoken word, and myself. So come on out at 7 o'clock tonight for Funky Fools. And here it is, thank you, here it is. This is my song. This is the hardest song that I have ever written, just in terms of performing. This is called Rock and Roller. You know when I rock and roll because I sing. humble baby. You know where I can roll up as I sing. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Sit side away. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Na 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 na. Humpty Dumpty sat on the walls. Humpty Dumpty had big big. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Oh, yeah. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Ain't that a shame? You know where I can roll up as I sing. Humpty Dumpty sat it out. Humpty Dumpty had big big. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Big bottom. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Oh, I am. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Humpty Dumpty sat walls. Humpty Dumpty had big big. You know where I can roll up as I sing. You know where I can roll up as I sing. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? You know where I can roll up as I sing. Oh, well, Humpty Dumpty sat bitch. Humpty Dumpty won that. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Roxanne. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Let's get on. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Galileo. Galileo. You know where I can roll up as I sing. Hang on. Yes.
Don't forget, tonight at 7, right here.
Right here.
All right. Lady H. Lady H.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. I have a question for you. How many of you know the story of the gingerbread man?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know the story of the gingerbread woman?
Yeah.
Ah! Who said yes?
Me.
You do? That's one. Because you see, once there was a woman in the gingerbread house. She had a gingerbread cat and a gingerbread mouse. Gingerbread pots and a gingerbread pan. And one day, she decided to make a gingerbread woman. You see, there were laces for buttons and buds for the eyes. And carefully she made her into just the right size. A piece of candy to make her nose, and then frosting to go on her toes. She put her in a pan, and then she lined with flour. She put her in the oven, and she baked her for an hour. But when she opened up the door, and to her surprise, she jumped out and bowled right out right before her eyes. Catch me if you can. Oh, I can run the fastest. I'm a gingerbread woman.
Torrey House in 2018 as so compelling it gave me goosebumps from the very first lines. Other works include poetry book Temp Words, published by Cosmo Press in 2015, and her latest novel, The In-Between Side, published by Mumblers Press in 2025. Hart is a mixed race, Passamaquoddy Native American, Irish, Black, Scottish, and English woman of color. Her work centers on her Black and Indigenous ancestors from New England, intergenerational historical trauma, mixed race identity, and uncovering the brutal truth of American history. The website is www.ahartworks.com. Please welcome to the stage Alison Hart.
Baby 2 really is mostly white, and baby 3, the in-between side. But my real baby's right here. I'm gonna put a timer on because I'm, like that. So just give me a second. Hold on. All right, thank you. So I'm going to start with a poem because I want to say that my mom was a poet and a scholar. And Mary Terrell, yes, I'm going to bring her here. She would come to my kindergarten class and she would teach poetry in between raising 5 kids and also working and then becoming a scholar. She's the reason I'm a writer. Mostly white, my first novel is really a love letter to my mom because she grew up in extreme poverty in Maine. She had a Black father, mixed-race Native mom. She suffered a lot. And sometimes I feel there are people in this world who they're just gonna get through that suffering and they're gonna just survive and do the best they can, and that was my mom. But she left all 5 kids wondering, where did she come from? What's her story? And so a lot of my work springs from discovering my own identity, my family's roots. And I'm going to start with a poem that's really about my ancestors and also about the experience of being in between races, in between cultures, in between worlds. It's called Circumference. Here it is. Standing on the edge of circles, always the witness, rarely the center, respectfully ambiguous, holding loving ancestors close. Mali, Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo, Benin, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, Passamaquoddy Native American. Where are you from? My ancestors, Jane and Peter Freeman, were enslaved in Ipswich, Massachusetts Bay Colony in the mid-1700s. John Freeman, their eldest son, Black native, fought in the Revolutionary War. In 1784, the Freeman family moved to Brunswick, Maine. The Freemans are listed in the Maine censuses as Negro, mulatto, black, colored, white, but never Native American, because they were not supposed to exist. George Augustus Freeman enlisted in the Civil War when Lincoln allowed blacks to join Union ranks. Wounded in the Battle of Spotsylvania, fighting was in his blood, following the footsteps of his grandfather, John. But where are you from? I am history that was never meant to be discovered, an inconvenient narrative pushing the edges of a circle open. In 1911, residents of Malaga Island, an interracial fishing community of Black, Irish, and Native Americans, founded by Ben Darling, a Black Revolutionary War veteran, were evicted by the state of Maine. The degenerate colony of half-breeds, notoriety became an embarrassment to the state. Must get rid of this eyesore, build a vacation paradise. Residents broke down their homes and used them as rafts floating down the New Meadows River, denied entry on shores. A great sport of entertainment for mainlanders, jeering as a black man lost his furniture in the rush of the river. Laughter swelled in amusement. Nobody helped him. Who would let them land? Some were taken by state officials to be confined at the Maine's Institute for the Feeble-Minded. Men separated from women, separated from children. On the island, they dug up bones of the ancestors, sent them to Maine's Institute for the Feeble-Minded, thrown together in unmarked graves. But where are you from? Blood-spilled wars fought, bones rattle. My father, a white southerner from Arkansas, crossed the Jim Crow color line and fell for my mother, a Black Native American Irish woman from Maine. All hell broke loose. Both families objected to the union, almost a decade before Loving versus Virginia in 1967. They met in Boston. While out in public, bottles were thrown at them, racial epithets. Their union was not safe, dangerous in fact. They began to date in churches where they wouldn't be harassed. Where can we have children? They asked each other in letters back and forth, weighing the consequence of bringing mixed children into the world. Where would they be safe? Where would they belong? Will our love make up for the harm society may heap on them? A Unitarian church in Massachusetts said, yes, we accept you. And so they dared to love, dared to have children, dare. Where are you from? By the way, I never say that to a mixed race person or racially ambiguous. FYI. Okay. I am earth, sky, fire, water, standing with deep roots on the circumferences of circles I didn't create, walls I didn't build, each brick an algorithmic separation. I am a union that dared to happen. Yes! Book, I talked about Augustus Freeman in this book, and I'm going to read a selection from, so this book is based on really centers on my Black and Native American ancestors from Maine, from New England. And it starts in 1841 that focuses on Eliza Johnson, who was my ancestor, is my ancestor, who was born, she's Black, she was born in Richmond, Virginia in 1841. So it starts around 1850. and ends in 1990 San Francisco. So this is kind of a third of the way in. This is Augustus Freeman is my ancestor. He's the one I mentioned that fought in the Civil War. And so I created a narrative for him. I just found him to be such an interesting character. And I wanted to pay homage to him. So this is his wife, Ophelia, he meets in a field when he was riding his horse through it, and she was a runaway slave from Maryland, so he rescues her and falls in love with her. But she kind of starts to unravel because she lost a lot of babies. And so then he took her to a healer, and then she got the right medicine and herbs, and now, she's doing better. So this is Augustus after they went to the healing. She perked up after that, stopped singing to dirt, and started talking to her belly, the new life in her, the one that would survive. I numbered them. No names, just numbers, until I knew they could make it. Baby 1, born blue. Baby 2, worms. Baby 3, fever. Got too much on my mind to worry. Found work in Casco Bay, unloading at the docks. Don't want to go out to sea, too far away from her. By the way, this is in Brunswick, Maine. We have just enough to get through this winter. Our hog came in handy. The butcher slaughtered it right before the snow. Cost a bit, but was worth it. Julia, my sister, is the one that caught our baby on a full moon. We named him Will and Smart, his middle name. The will to live and the smarts to survive. Though I secretly called him Baby 4, just in case. She wrapped him around her back and never let him out of her sight. Baby Will could have caught all her murmurs. She sang, danced with him. With Will she came alive again, but she had no attention for me. Man gets restless. I went to sea. A steward this time on a ship to the Carolinas. Got my papers with me though. Made sure the man that hired me wasn't going to try and sell me down the coast as a slave. My buddy Lem said he was honest, worked for him before, but you hear stories of free men like me, sold with no chance of returning. But I trust them. We're like brothers. Came back in 6 months in time for my boy's 3rd birthday. Cam was right. This one is going to make it. He's a sturdy boy with thick legs. Had a big celebration at my father's barn. Ophelia, doting on his every whim, that's her name, Ophelia. And there was Lucretia, her eyes teasing me behind her fan. My sister Mary invited her. They work for the same white family in town. Lucretia, hair piled up like a queen, wide hips, daring me to try and catch her. We met in town. I rented a room at the colored boarding house. My whole body trembled when she touched me, even looked at me. Oh, Lucretia, my queen, come put your hips on me. Yes, I am a queen, and don't you forget it. Molasses skin under my dark, rough hands, but not too rough for her, our bodies rocking all night. Guinea, she says. Her grandma was taken from Guinea, sold for 50 pounds to a sea captain in Maine. She petitioned for her freedom and got it. She married a black man, Peters, a veteran of the Revolutionary War, and they founded a colored town in Maine, Peterborough. Lucretia's skin is not too dark, because her grandma had relations with a German man, and her father is mulatto. I don't care what she is. All I know is I can't get enough of this woman. She soon carried my child, and baby Eleanor was born. My first daughter, Eleanor Freeman. I didn't number her. I kept everyone fed. It was hard, but I did it. I kept the two worlds separate. My life with Ophelia and my other with Lucretia. Though Lucretia says someday she won't put up with this anymore. Someday she will leave with Eleanor. Where are you going to go? I tease her. She says she doesn't know, but she will be gone. But her soreness won't last. My touch always brings her back. Every night, the same dream. Ophelia wakes seething like a snake ready to strike. How did she know? I tell you, women are strange and powerful creatures, and yes, I lied. I lied to keep the peace. There you go with your crazy dreams again. Only thing I got in my hands is you and the crates I load off the ships. Best you go back to sleep now. She turns over and curls her body in a tight ball at the edge of our bed. On market day, we set up at our usual spot. Lucretia saunters by our cart in her fine silk dress and hat. Eleanor stretches her stubby arms to me. Lucretia picks up a tomato, turns it over, then places it back in the cart. Not ripe enough, she locks eyes with Ophelia. Sinful woman, Ophelia hisses. Lucretia pays her no mind, gathers Eleanor from my arms and strolls off. Will tugs on Ophelia's apron. Who's that, Mama? He asks Ophelia, and she turns to me like a wolf ready to bite. Augustus, you tell him. You tell him who